Hello, welcome back to my channel Christian Faith and Fiction. My name's Lou, and today I want to share with you some book reviews of Christian fiction and some other recent reads that I've been reading. So I've been keeping a vlog style journal of the books that I've been reading since the beginning of January, and I have got a few to share with you, so let's see how I got on. It's the 7th of January and I've finished my final Christmas book of the season. I finished reading Like a Silver Bell by Lindsay Harrel. This is the third Christmas novella in her series, her Port Willis series, which is a Christian contemporary romance series, and it's set in Cornwall. This follows Cara, who has been through a previous bad relationship with a wealthy man, and her marriage broke down, and so she's sworn she doesn't want to get involved with anyone again. She definitely doesn't want to get involved with someone who has a lot of money because she doesn't trust them anymore. But then when she's over in Cornwall organising a charity ball, she meets the director of the charity, Warren, and they start to fall for each other, but she's just not she's got a lot of things to process through. I really enjoyed being back in the coastal Cornwall town of Port Willis. I liked seeing the characters from previous years' Christmas stories popping up. There's quite a lot of faith content in this particular one, and it was a sweet romance with quite a lot of character development to it. Very short because it's a novella, but I like short contemporary romance stories, so I give this one 9 out of 10. It's 27th of January. I have been reading recently, or listening to the audio Bible read, the NIV Bible read by David Suchet. I'm really getting on with that one. I found his narration to be quite dramatic, and dramatic enough to be interesting to listen to, but not so much that it distracts me from the text. I definitely recommend, if you're getting an audio Bible, to listen to a sample of it beforehand, because I think the narration really makes a difference to how much you want to listen to it and your kind of motivation to listen to it. So I recommend doing that first. I found this one helpful. He has a slightly posher southern accent, English accent than I do, but being an English accent, I find it kind of easy to listen to. It doesn't jar against my mind, but depending on where you come from in the world, you might find a different accent much easier to listen to. So there's that one. I'm hoping to continue to listen to that one first thing in the morning, instead of like checking social media or the news and things. I think it might be a good habit for me to keep going with and start the day off with that. And then I have finished Tacos for Two by Betsy St. Amant. This is a contemporary Christian romance story, and I really loved it. I gave this a 1. I'm going to give it 10 out of 10. I found it really fun, enjoyable read. It does, there is some, they're dealing with some stuff and everything, but I found it quite a light tone to it, so I found it really easy to read at night time before going to bed. And it follows Rory, who is the owner of a salsa, I can't remember what the name of the food truck is. Anyway, a food truck with like Mexican food, I think it is. And then her kind of rival Jude, who also gets into the food truck industry, and they end up in a contest against each other, but they're also online chatting online on like an online dating thing. So there's a lot of You've Got Mail references in the book. I loved that film, although there's some moral aspects to it that I'm not in favour of, but I loved the concept of the film, and this book has like all the good bits of that film without the morality issues. So I really enjoyed it. It does have some faith elements to it, just a small, well, not really a small amount. Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's some faith elements to it, which I really enjoyed. I loved all the characters. They're dealing with a lot of stuff in the background, but it, as I say, it was quite a light read and fun to read as well. It's the 2nd of February. I just have 2 more books to add in that I finished in January. One was The Valley of Adventure by Enid Blyton. This is part of her adventure series, and I think it's probably one of the more exciting ones that I've read so far. I remember it from childhood, and I gave that one 10 out of 10. And then I read The Reluctant Dragon by Kenneth Grahame, and I didn't realise he'd written anything else except Wind in the Willows. This was a very short children's book and quite eccentric, quite fun. I gave that one 8 out of 10. Hey, it's the 5th of February and I have finished The Princess Spy by Melanie Dickerson. This, I think, is the 5th book in her Hagenheim series, and it is a medieval retelling of The Princess and the Frog. And this book follows Margareta, who is the Duke of Hagenheim's daughter. She is very talkative, and she's been brought all these different suitors to come and try and woo her so she can get married. But she's not attracted to any of them. But then a stranger turns up in the castle who has been injured, and he is English and only speaks English, and she's the only one who seems to be able to speak English apart from the priest. And yeah, she learns secrets. There's sort of intrigue going on. There's a lot of action and fighting and all sorts of things going on with that, as well as the romance, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really well written. I thought the characters were believable in this book most of the time, and it was sweet. I gave it 9.5 out of 10, and I think it was one of my favourites from this series. It's the 11th of February. I have finished reading Out of the Silent Planet by C.S. Lewis. This is a bind-up of the 3 books together. This is the first book in his Space trilogy, which I think this was published in 1938, something like that. This book follows Dr. Ransom, who is an academic who is on a walking tour, and he goes to help out a boy to get home, ends up getting kidnapped and wakes up in a spacecraft with a scientist and another guy who have kidnapped him and taking him to an alien planet. This is one of C.S. Lewis's earlier works, I think, and it kind of, to me, it felt like an earlier work. It didn't feel quite as sophisticated in terms of the plot as the Narnia books, although the world itself is quite complicated and a little bit confusing at times. My reactions to it were kind of oscillating, switching between finding it weirdly interesting and boring. It was kind of dull but in places, but then stuff would happen, and the world was kind of making me curious. And so, as it's C.S. Lewis, I will continue on with the other 2 books. I'm wondering whether he gets a bit more into his stride with storytelling as he goes through writing, but we'll see. I gave it 6.5 out of 10, so a 3 stars. Hi, it's the 15th of February and I have finished reading Of Literature and Lattes by Katherine Reay. This book follows on from the printed letter bookshop that she wrote. This is set in the same town of Winsome, I think, yeah, and following on from one of the main characters from that book and her daughter. So her daughter Alyssa has left home a while ago, went to, I think, Silicon Valley to work in a firm there, but that's now being investigated by the FBI, and so it collapses and she comes home to live with her mother, and her relationship is very troubled, very difficult, and so they're having to kind of live together in the same space whilst processing all of the past and why it got to that stage in the first place. She's also dealing with what's happened with the firm and trying to put her life back together. The other main character that it follows is a guy called Jeremy, who has moved to Winston to be close to his daughter and his ex-wife, and he started up a coffee shop, and so he really needs it to work so that he can be there to look after his daughter when he has custody of her, the times that he has her. And so he's dealing with that and their relationship with his ex-wife, and trying to settle into a new community that's like a small town. And there's a romance in it, but I would say that's not really the strongest storyline in it. I think the family relationships are really kind of stronger than that, or as strong as that. It follows those two characters, but it also follows like a lot of side stories going on as well. And I gave it 4 stars on Goodreads. I give it 8 out of 10 on my blog, and the reason that I dropped a star was just because it follows so many, like it jumps in and out of people's heads. So it'll follow the perspective of the main 2 characters, but it'll also just randomly jump into one of the side characters' heads, and I didn't feel like it gave quite enough signposting in the book to show that it had changed perspective, so that it just threw me a bit every time it happened. And I was like, well, hang on, whose head am I in right now? I'm not quite sure. I enjoyed it. There's quite a lot going on in the story and all the subplots and the emotional side to it. But just that kind of slightly confusing because of the so many different perspectives that just suddenly turned up. But overall, I think it was a good book. I took part in Holly's Olympic Readathon. I'll link her channel down in the description. And we were kind of scoring points due to different challenges met. So I read a couple of books that were just specifically to fit those challenges. I read The True History of Little Golden Hood by Andrew Lang and Leo Laporte. It was a really short children's book, and I read it just to fulfill the challenge of reading something with gold on the cover. So I gave it 8 out of 10. That gave me the maximum number of points for that one. And then I read, I was going to read Winter by Marissa Meyer, but I decided I didn't want to binge read that one through the Olympics. So instead I read 80 Days Around the World by Michael Palin, which was the travel diary for when he did his TV series recreating Phileas Fogg's journey. And I gave that one 7 out of 10. I did that one because he stops in China, so I got some points for that. I would say there are some content warnings for that one. He does some things that I wouldn't do as a Christian, and also there is some swearing in it, which there wasn't in the original TV series. So I've counted through, and I think I got 16 points, which was the silver medal from that one. It was just a fun readathon to do whilst the Olympics was on. I did watch quite a few of the events, especially the curling, as Great Britain won a gold medal in that. So that's been a fun thing to do. Those were the books that I've read recently. Let me know down in the comments if you've read any really great books recently. Thank you so much to everyone who has commented on my videos or liked or subscribed to my channel. I really do appreciate that. I hope you have a really great reading week, and until next time, God bless. Bye.